Hello, and thank you for joining us. This is Jean Potter from the Oklahoma Public School Resource Center. I'm part of the teaching and learning team, and this is our second NWEA webinar on NWEA map reports. My co-host again today is Jeff Pritchard, the statewide NWEA coordinator for OPSRC. Hi, Jeff.
How are you doing, Jane?
Well, I'm doing better now that this is working.
You gotta love technology, don't you?
I do. When it works, it's great. When it isn't, I don't love it. Today's webinar is going to focus on the class breakdown report. Jeff, how's this different from the breakdown or from the class report that we used last time?
The class breakdown report lets you kind of dig down a little bit deeper and find more information. The class report is just pretty static. You can go in and you look, and you want to look at that and kind of tell, how much time the students took. It's a good way to get a snapshot of where your entire class is. But then you get to the class breakdown report, it lets you have a lot more information. It lets you toggle back and forth to look at it in different views, get to your learning continuum easier. So it's just a much more interactive report that lets you see the information in a variety of ways really quickly.
Okay, thanks for that information. I'm going to switch to my screen share, and Jeff, if you want to switch also. Okay, you should be able to see my screen now, and you should be able to see my mouse moving if I've done everything right. Because I'm new to this, I'm going to walk us through again how to do that just to make sure that I'm on the right page. So what I did was I signed into the NWEA website, and I'm going to view reports. I'm going to map reports. And we're looking, as we said, at the class breakdown report. So I'm going to click on that. Once I get to this, I'm going to make sure that I have data. Your view will be slightly different than mine because we're looking at, number one, an older page, and we're also looking at data for a sample. So yours will look slightly different. I'm going to go to the fall 2015-2016 just because I know it's there. And I'm going to go to Three Sisters Elementary, choose the teacher, and then, Jeff, how would you like for me to choose the class breakdown?
Let's go do it by writ to begin with, and we can look at the others as we go.
Okay, sounds good. And I'm not going to create the PDF report. As Jeff said, if I look at it online, it's very interactive, so I'm going to switch to that. This is what will come up, and then I'm going to let Jeff walk you through it.
Yeah. Once you get to the point where you can see the reports, and mine is not really letting me move it. Go ahead and take it and move through it, and then I'll just talk about it as you move through it, Jean.
Okay, sounds good. Let me get back to the page. There I am. Okay, go ahead. You talk, and I'll try to drive. Okay,
if you'll just kind of scroll down, and obviously you can see here, as we see with the mathematics, you can see your range once again from 181. Oops, lost it. Okay, from 181 on up to 240. So you see you have a pretty broad spectrum here as far as your standard deviation. You got a pretty good grouping in the 201 to 210 and 211 to 220. So it should allow quite a bit of whole group instruction as far as those students are concerned, because they're going to be pretty close in their abilities. Then you have some outliers like you see over 231 to 240. This student is pretty advanced and is going to need some individualized instruction that's tailored more to their skill set.
Okay, and Jeff, can you see my screen when you're talking?
Yes, I can.
Okay. So we're going to hope that that's the way it's working. Okay, so we've looked at this. One of the questions I had is that all of this is interactive. So what happens if I click on one of these blue highlighted areas?
Let's click on the 201 through 210 since we have students in that area, and this is going to take you to the learning continuum. And then go ahead and just click on any one of those, which will show us where we are. Let's go operations now to great thinking, or any of those you want to choose. It shows you all the different goal areas. As you see here, we're on understand, place value, counting, and cardinality. You see here the students. Now this is the class view and not the test view, but it shows you what students in the range of 191 to 200 should be pretty comfortable with. And as you move down, it shows you things ready to be introduced. Now you can see over here on the right, it's got our list of students and what their overall RIT was, and also in that goal range. So in this particular goal range that we're looking at, this is where this student, Lisa, and this, that's one on the top, Lisa's overall RIT is a 208 in math, but in this particular goal range that we're looking at right here, she was at a 200.
Okay, and so this brings it down to some very specific objectives that the students need to be able to do. Is that correct?
Yes, and that's why it's important that you look at the goals and not just their overall RIT score, because their overall RIT score, it might be pretty good, but they might have some definite weak areas, like we see with Lisa in this particular case. Her overall RIT is, like I said, 208, but 200 in this particular goal area. She had some areas that we need to work on for her.
Okay. I'm going to go back one page, maybe. Yeah. Okay, so now I'm back to this, and we clicked in on this one so that I could see it. What happens if I click on the student name?
Click on one, let's see.
And let's go down to the same thing, since that's where we were.
Mm-hmm.
And it just gives me the information for that one student. Although if I go here, I can see the others also.
Right. Another thing that you might notice is if you see there on the right, I noticed in our last group, and as we looked at those, that in each of those, the overall RIT was higher than it was in that particular goal range, which tells you that if you see that with multiple students, that this could be an area that you really need to focus on with the entire group, because if your entire group is their lowest scores are in one particular goal area, that tells you that might be an area as a teacher that you need to emphasize more, because multiple students and maybe all your class could be struggling in that area. And that's also where you can look at your scores. Another teacher can look at theirs, and you might determine that you as a teacher has strengths in some areas, and another teacher might have strengths in another area, and you might want to team teach, and you teach the areas that you really do the best job in teaching, and let another teacher teach the areas that they do the best job in teaching.
Okay, and that's a great idea. And if that doesn't work with your school schedule, then at least you could collaborate and see what's working in your classroom, and you can share that so that you can share back and forth.
Right.
Okay, so if I want to, since this is interactive, what happens if I do go to change from goal to RIT, just to look at it and see?
I think we were on RIT to begin with, and then you can go to goal as your next one.
Okay, so this is where we were before. So let me go back one again. Not that far back. Well, good. There we go. So this says it's goal. This says it's RIT. So this is what you were talking about before, that if I look at the overall RIT, it looks very different than it does with the individual goals.
Right. That's where you can break it down. You can go by RIT or by goal.
Okay. What's this projected proficiency thing?
That's really a great tool. What it does, it shows you projected proficiency in several ways. What you're seeing on the screen right now is projected proficiency for the ACT test, which is really important moving forward, because I really think that we're going to move towards ACT especially for high school, as the end of instruction type test. I know they're in discussions about that now, I don't know if they'll end up doing that, but that's a possibility. If you see what we have here, we have a large group of students that are not on track to score at least a 22. Then the next column where it says on track 22, those students, which we don't have any in math, but in reading we have 2 students that they're on track to score at least a 22 on the ACT in that particular area. Then in the next column on track for 24, you see we have about 5 students in math and 3 students in reading that are on track to score at least a 24 on the ACT in those particular areas. So this is really good. And this starts in the 5th grade that the projections are available to teachers and the students and the parents. And it's a great conversation tool at parent-teacher conferences. And it's a great way to get the students involved in their education and in their proficiency. Then if you look down below, the next level, it says projected to Ohio achievement assessment taken in the spring. Obviously, this is data that we have off of the sample data from NWEA. This would be correlated to Oklahoma standards, for people in Oklahoma, and it would be broken down by our categories: unsatisfactory, limited knowledge, proficiency, proficient, and advanced. And so the categories would be ours, and you'd be able to see the projections off of their NWEA test or the math test as to where they would fall in these particular categories for the state test.
Okay, and how soon will that be available? Because I know we're in the midst of testing changes. Do we have any idea?
It's correlated to our standards now. It'll really be difficult for them to have it in place completely until we've done at least one set of tests with our new standards. And so, for it to true to be valid and reliable, we have to have, some data points that they can use, that they can make that correlation. Just a general rule of thumb that we found over the years, a lot of schools have, and we found this at Seminole as well, that if a student scores in the 50th percentile nationwide on the national norm or higher, they typically will pass the test.
Okay, that's good information. Jeff, as I look at these RIT scores, and again, I'm not very well versed in NWEA yet, it looks to me like the range that we're looking at is from about 198 to 229. I'm assuming that the expected scores would probably be slightly different if I had much younger students or much older students. I guess what I'm trying to ask, I know RIT doesn't follow the grade level, but what's the full range of RIT possibility?
I believe it's around 180 to 240, if I'm not mistaken. But I can't swear to that. I'm not sure exactly what the highest is and the lowest is. I'm pretty sure the 240 is the high end, but I'm not sure what the bottom end is on that.
Okay. Is there a place? Let's go back to map reports. I wonder if the learning continuum might show me.
Yeah, I definitely will.
Okay. Got all of that stuff up there, and I'm just
remember you can get to that through your class breakdown report too.
Okay, and see, I had forgotten that. I'm going to look at. Well, we're looking at math, so let's see what the math says. Okay, so from the looks of this, 131, and then if I could move this over.
Just click on the one on the end, and it should move everything for you.
Well, that's what I thought, but it's not cooperating today.
Well, we know it's definitely lower than 180. I was wrong on that. 131 to low end.
Okay, let's see if it'll go this way. Nope. Go to high school and see what it says. Anyway, we know that goes up, and I believe it goes higher. If my computer were cooperating, this is just not my day for computers. I could see that.
Well, it goes to at least 230, so we know that.
Yeah. I'm going to try to go back, and just so that everybody sees what I didn't know. Oh, I'm going to go to, there it is. So I can go to my learning continuum here if I go back to by goal, and then I choose.
So you see on the right now it said 231 to 240 on that far end. So
edit display options. So this is back where I was before, so it's probably not going to let me do that.
Yeah.
Okay. So bottom line, what I'm seeing here is there's lots of interactivity. If I want to see what the class did for overall math, then I would go to the RIT. If I want to see where the specific weaknesses are, I would go to gold. And if I want to project out how they might do on spring testing, then I would use the projected proficiency. Is that all correct?
Correct. You got it.
See, I'm learning things.
You are.
Okay, so is there anything else that we need to cover on the class breakdown report, Jeff?
I think that covers it pretty well. It's a good, useful report to give you a lot of good information, and you kind of use that in conjunction with your initial class report, and you start to get a pretty good picture of what you need to inform instruction. Then when we talk about, once you've given multiple tests, well, now you have the opportunity to go in and see how students are growing, and see if they're meeting our expectations as far as their growth personally is, where they not only where they project to score on tests, but how much growth they're demonstrating. So that's what we'll see on our next report that we talk about.
Yes, and I think we talked about this earlier, and we are going to be looking at the summary report that comes with a quadrant view, which I know you really like.
I do. I think it's a real good report to allow you to kind of see what's happening in the classroom and get a real good snapshot of the entire class, but you can also look at each individual student and see what kind of progress they're making. It's a good report.
And I'm looking forward to learning more about it because I've seen just a little bit of it. So that sounds great. Our next webinar is scheduled to be on September the 22nd at 1:30. And Google's moved away from Google+, so part of our problem today and what we'll be doing for the next time is that we're going to be going through YouTube Live. I'll send out an email reminder next week with appropriate link information if people are interested in watching it live. And as usual, this one and any of the others will be posted after I edit them on the YouTube channel. That link will stay so that you can get to it. We're also putting these, and Jeff, you may not be aware of these, we're also putting these on our OPSRC webpage. Once we get a spot for it for NWEA, we will post these also. For those who are interested in more information about NWEA reports and data, OPSRC is hosting a full-day workshop on October the 26th titled Applying NWEA Reports, and another one on October the 27th on Informing Instruction with NWEA Data. Both of these will be held at our office in Oklahoma City, and the instructors will be an NWEA trainer. Jeff and I will also be there. You can register for these at opsrc.net/events, or just give Jeff or I an email. His address is jeffpritchard@opsrc.net, and mine is jean.potter@opsrc.net. Thank you again for joining us. Jeff, do you have anything else to add?
No, but if you want to register for those workshops, please do as quickly as possible. We have room for 40. And we have over 30 that are already registered in for both those days. So if you're interested in coming, make sure you register as quickly as possible.
Okay, and that address, in case you want to do that right now, is opsrc.net/events. And you're going to be looking for the NWEA Applying Reports and Informing Instruction. Thanks, Jeff, for helping out again today. Actually, you're the one that's in charge. And I'll talk to you later.
All right, Jean. Good working with you.
Thank you. Goodbye.
Bye-bye.